Welcome to another unit on social network analytics. This time I want to give you a short brief introduction to the user interface of Gephi. As you can see here, at the moment I haven't yet loaded anything. If you want to open a data set, simply go to File, and either you can open an empty project, an empty file, or use the open command to open any specific type of file. That's actually what I'm going to do in a moment. But before, with recent, we would get previously opened files. And you can also use here the import functions to import, for example, edge lists or other type of spreadsheet data. And an even more interesting point, if you just want to illustrate something, you could just use the generate function to generate some kind of random graphs, be them normal, dynamic, multi-graphs, whatever. So that's a neat tool if you just want to try out something and don't yet have any decent network data available. For us, I'm using open, and the big advantage here is he automatically lists whatever works for him. Here I'm using a Gephi file, but you can also use a lot of different other file formats. Especially interesting, you can directly and without any problems open Excel files. So basically directly import adjacency matrices. Here, as I said, we're using this Gephi file. So just double click this and it opens in the data table. That's basically where you get the information on your data. And here you have two views. You have the nodes view with a list of all the nodes in your network and their IDs. And next to the ID, which in most cases is like an ongoing number, you also have the label. And it's the same thing later for nodes. The label you can use to describe what is this node representing, what is this edge representing. Aside from the ID and the label, another important point in this context is here the modularity class. The modularity class is an interesting thing to use if you have certain groups or cluster of nodes. So if you want to show that specific nodes actually belong to a similar area, speak the same language, have the same point of origin or whatever, you can use the modularity class and tell Gephi, well, this one is in group 1, that one is in group 8, group 6, group 7 and so forth. And this will help you later on if you want to prepare graphical representation of your network, because then you can simply tell him, well, whoever is in modularity class 1, make them yellow. Whoever is in modularity class 8, make them, green. 6, make them blue. So that's a pretty easy way to group different nodes into specific subgroups, clusters, whatever. And that's basically all already on the nodes part, except for the part up here and down here, which is simply tools to add nodes, add edges, or in any way change, work with your data set, the structure of the data set. However, if you just want to use this as an overview, well, here then you have the edges. The edges are slightly different to what you've seen with the nodes, except for you still have a column for ID, a column for label. What we have in addition to the nodes is here first off a column on the source and the target. So even if it's, that's the type here, an undirected network, it still shows from where to where does this edge go. It's only listed if it's undirected usually in both directions. Well, this gives you an additional information, and the final part back here, it always has the part weight. So the weight, the strength, the width of the corresponding edges. That's basically then the overview about your data set, and also allows you, as I said, to make changes in the data set. If you actually want to represent your data set later on, you can switch to the part overview, which has 3 parts. The right hand part, that part here, is basically the graphical representation of your network. And you can also change a few of the parts in the network. Down here, change, for example, or display labels for nodes, for edges, change color size, type, whatever. Then we have the upper part on the left. So here the part on appearance. Appearance basically allows you to change colors, change text format, change a lot of different, more or less graphical aspects of your representation. Also allows you to assign characteristics, statistics you might have calculated to the size of the different nodes. So you can tell, for example, that if you want the nodes to be represented via degree centrality, between the centrality, you can assign this here as well. The lower part, especially the layout part, helps you to change the layout of this graph. Use specific algorithms here to arrange them in a more comprehensive, in a more compact way. And it also lists in some parts those plugins which directly use the graphical user interface, like as you can see here, I already activated the Twitter streaming importer. If, for example, you want to use Gephi as a social listening tool in whatever context. Well, that's then already as a brief introduction to Gephi, a brief introduction to Gephi's graphical user interface. So this concludes today's session, and I say goodbye and see you next time.